Well, what do shoot, I wanted to get a background picture on here. I'm not sure I can figure out how to do that here in a minute. The BLM director's with us, and they're going up top to release the birds. They're late as well, so we may not be opening the gate. Yes, you are. Matt, are you hearing me? Can you hear me? Okay. I just want to make sure the audio is working. I can't hear Matt. I'm not worried about it. Yeah, we can do that. This might be delayed because the BLM director's not up there yet, so we might have to open the gates a little bit after noon, like 10, 15 minutes. Tell me what you want me to do. Yes, we're live. Yeah, nope, you don't want to be here. Well, I don't know what's happening yet. Yeah, we're talking to the public right now. You gotta go that way. Sorry. I need to put a sign up that says live in progress. A light.
The service is a
videos.
proud leader of the
Show up.
California Condor Recovery Program, an international and multi-entity effort dedicated to bringing the condor back from near extinction. Our offices in Arizona and Utah work in collaboration with multiple agencies, groups, organizations, and tribes to ensure conservation success for native species and their habitats, particularly those that are listed as endangered or threatened under the Endangered Species Act. To witness a California condor experience exhilarating flight for the very first time in the wild is something that I will always recommend be added to anyone's bucket list. So shout out to those of you who've joined us today, hoping to be inspired and awed by these incredibly massive birds as they take to the air on outstretched wings. We anxiously await their explorations into the beautiful state of Utah, mere miles from their release site. In the meantime, thank you so much to the Peregrine Fund and the Bureau of Land Management for making this event happen. And especially thanks to the field biologists and staff on the ground who work tirelessly every day to protect these birds. Best wishes for a successful release, and as always, cheering on for the survival of the condors.
Hi, my name is Diane.
Pete Grzelski, otherwise known as Condor Pete.
My name is Louis.
My name is Cheryl.
My name is Condor Ray.
I feel exhilarated when I see a free-flying condor.
It's a great feeling, especially when they fly in. You can see the size of the bird and the grace and the majesty. It's incredible.
It just gives you a feeling of wellness all over to see such a magnificent creature.
It's just a treat to watch, and to think 40 some years ago they were that close from extinction.
My favorite thing about working with condors is watching the reaction of our visitors.
I even had some people just streaming in tears with joy that they've seen a condor, perhaps for the very first time in their lives.
The condor release is progress and excitement. I mean, it's just a great thing.
Hopefully these young birds are going to get out there, and hope some of them will come up to science.
The population is growing. There are more birds in the area, and the more the merrier.
The condor release to me is definitely hope. It's a ray of hope for all of us.
Okay, we're back. We're also losing cameras. It's incredibly hot here today, and we're trying to keep all our equipment up and running, but it is providing significant challenges, ones that we thought could be a problem, but didn't know how it would turn out. So I'm gonna stay with you here for a moment, and we're gonna try to get our live cameras back on. Somebody asked if these birds being released are male or female. Well, I encourage you all to go check for yourself, because there's a great app that we use. It's a website called condorspotter.com, and you will see all of the Arizona, Utah birds in that app. And it was created by Tim Huntington and the Wildlife Society. And it's incredibly helpful for finding information about wild condors. So if I go to my Condor Spotter app, I will see the tags for all of my birds, and I can pull up each one of those. You probably couldn't see that, but I'm going to pull up, for example, Condor 36. We know that these birds, we have 3 females and 1 male in this group. So we're trying to get a bunch of females out, which is really cool. I'm not sure that Condor Spotter is fully updated with our birds yet, so we've got to get on that and make that happen. But I can tell you that yeah, 1221 is a female, and I'm trying to remember the other birds. You guys put me on the spot, and I know that there's 3 females and 1 male, but I don't want to mess up. So I encourage you to go to Condor Spotter and check it out, and you can possibly tell me which birds are male and female. When did this nice new pen get built? I am so glad you asked that, because we spent the last 2 months working on this, and we decided after HPAI and doing some work on our flight pen, which some of you may have seen in the resilience video that we played, that we needed to update the facilities over at the release pen. So we just did this over the last couple of months, and it provides a lot of logistical challenge. challenges that we have to tackle. Like, how do you build a structure up on a 1,500-foot cliff face that you can only access by foot? So bringing materials in and doing something like that is, and it's certainly not something that people would undertake, but we don't care. And face those challenges head on and get things done, like building things. So we all the different materials together, and we put those on trucks and then drove them to the top of the cliffs and then transferred them to ATVs. And then from there, we were able to build everything with that we have on hand. So it's certainly a pen that is worthy of trapping condors, and we're hoping to use that here for our trapping season coming up. So we're going to use it for release season for the next few weeks. I think I mentioned that this is just the first of a few different releases that we're going to do this fall. So we're going to do 4 individual birds in each release, and we have 2 more releases after this one. Hopefully, at the end of October will be all the birds, the 12 birds that we have to release, will be out there and flying in the wild. Oh, Condor's. I said it was an app. We have an app that we use for field data collection, but it's actually a website. So go to condorspotter.com and you will find it there. Why do we release only 4 condors? Well, we have to be careful about how much we bite off. If you bite off more than you can chew, we end up with birds potentially being vulnerable to scavenging, to predators. So if we can't monitor every single bird that we release by the minutes, so we know the location from the time that they leave the pen until dark, if we can't handle that load, so if we released 10 birds or all 12 birds at once, we would have a hard time following all 12. And if some of those birds landed in spots that were accessible to coyotes, they might not make it through the night. And it's not acceptable to, in my mind, to lose birds to predators when we have the ability to step in and teach these young birds, these inexperienced birds, what a predator looks like in a safe way that does not necessarily mean it's not mean the end of their life. So we've certainly lost birds over the years from predators like coyotes and golden eagles. But my hope is that with these 4 birds, we will be able to keep them alive well enough for the next month until they get kind of the skills that they're going to develop to basically send them off into the wild. So they're going to start moving away from here. They might be here for a few weeks, but then they're going to be out on the Kaibab Plateau and the south rim of the Grand Canyon and up in Zion National Park before you know it. So our job is to keep them going and teach them about what they're going to experience in the wild here over the next 3 to 4 weeks, and then let them go. So it's a really quick parenting gig, but it's really rewarding as well. No, the other releases won't be live streamed. We're going to do those on our own as birds are ready. So it's less of it's not as scheduled as this one is. This one we like to try to keep consistent from year to year. But the next 2, the subsequent 2, will be kind of as the next batches are ready. So hopefully in a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, we'll get our next batch ready to go out. I believe we have a couple more partner videos. Is that what I'm hearing from back in the studio? I'd like to have a whole team that's working behind the scenes to try to make this happen in the best way that we possibly can, given the situation that we're in with this remote area. So I will be communicating with them from time to time, but they're doing an excellent job of keeping us running and trying to get all the cameras we can to you, the viewer. But in the meantime, we're going to toss you to a couple more of our partners, and I'll be back with you shortly.
My name is Danielle Finlayson. I'm the conservation biologist for the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources. I'm also the state condor lead here in Utah. And in January, I had the opportunity to go down to the Vermilion Cliffs with the Peregrine Fund and participate in some lead testing for the condors down there and get real up close and personal with those birds and see all the time and energy and effort that goes into that program. We are so excited for these birds to be released and hopefully eventually to make their way up to Utah so that we can see them up here on Cedar Mountain in the summer.
Hi, my name is Kirsten Fuller and I'm a biological science technician at Grand Canyon National Park. We assist the condor recovery through tracking the population of birds through the canyon and monitoring nesting behavior during the breeding season. One of my favorite parts about the job is actually educating visitors and getting to share the experience of a condor flying right overhead with visitors and sharing the threats against them and helping them learn about condors. I'm super excited for the release this year and to put some new birds into the population, and I can't wait to see those birds flying over the canyon soon.
All right, welcome back in. Hope you enjoyed the partner videos. Again, our partners are such an integral part of what we do and how we see the success of this program and the fact that it's able to keep moving forward. It takes a village, we always say, and it's so true. I did see some questions like from an old friend, Mari Carlos, down in Tucson. How are you doing? Do we know what the longest that a release bird has lived in the wild? Well, I can tell you Condor spotter would be another good place to check that for the other populations. I can tell you who our oldest bird is. Our oldest bird right now is Condor 123. Condor 123 is 29 years old. So he is one of the original releases from 1996. He's going to be 30 years old on May 20th next year. So we'll look forward to wishing 123 a happy birthday. And 123, we're really fortunate to have that bird with us today because that is one of the birds that came in over the winter that was suffering from lead poisoning. We had some help from Grand Canyon National Park, where that bird resides most of the time. And we had some help from Liberty Wildlife because we were able to trap that bird and get it down to Liberty Wildlife, where it recovered from a severe bout of lead poisoning. So anytime you see one of your older birds, like 123, the old guard, that bird has so much value in its breeding status, its dominance within the flock, its longevity in the program. And to lose a bird like that is really difficult. Those ones hurt a little bit more. So I'm so glad that 123 was able to be rescued and treated and released back into the wild. And that bird's doing great right now. It's been flying all over the range this summer. It's been spotted up in Utah. It's been spotted at the Grand Canyon, and he's doing really well. Other questions? I'm going to look in here and see what we got. Coyotes do well everywhere, like rats and crows. They're one of those species that lives off the scraps of human activity. If a carcass is left out for condors, it also feeds coyotes and ravens. And that's actually a really good point because condors are competing for food. They're scavengers. So they're not the only scavenger on the landscape, but they are one of many scavengers like golden eagles, bald eagles, coyotes, ravens, turkey vultures, a whole slew of scavengers in this region. And they're all competing for the same food. We generally put this food out here on the rim for a couple drops. So we'll do this for a couple weeks so that they have the best access to that food, the new condors. But then we're going to move it inside of our trap, which is a protected space. The food inside of this trap again, after these birds get more accustomed to being out in the wild, they're going to be able to go in there and feed safely because that is completely predator proof. So coyotes can't get in there and other scavengers. It's shut off for them, but accessible for condors. I don't have any updates on the other two birds yet. I think I would hear a pretty good commotion behind me. I know we can't see those birds right now, but let's check in real quick with the field crew. And all right. Any movement on the other two birds, 1209 and 1221?
the opening that he's flying past it, coming flapping, and going back to the corner. We're excited about it. Could be any second, could be hours.
Happy, thank you. All right, that was our program manager, Sean Fari, who actually was here for the first release in 1996 and is back with us. All right, sorry about that. Zoom decided it wasn't going to keep me on for much longer, but I fought back and here we are. I just was trying to tell you guys that was Sean Fari, our program manager, who's up top at the release pen, releasing those birds with the rest, a couple other members of our team. Aaron Brannon's up there. They said that 1221 and 1209, the two birds left in the pen, are definitely antsy. So they're moving around quite a bit. They're aware of the opening. They know that they can get out. However, they're seemingly, I wouldn't say content, but biding their time and leaving. So we'll give you updates as that happens, and get those to you right away. But stay tuned. He said they could leave any moment. Great question from Andrea. Do you tag birds that are hatched in the wild? Yeah, we do. So every bird in the population is currently tagged, and it's hopefully someday we can have a population where we don't tag birds anymore, but we're not there yet because we don't have a sustainable population. We don't have the numbers that we can pull back to that level. We're not there yet. So every bird for now, because each one is so valuable, is tagged and tracked. And so after about a year of the life in the wild for a wild fledge, we're able to trap those birds in the pen that you were seeing in the live feed, and put those tags on. So whenever we grab we call them untagged juveniles, because that's what they are generally, and they're wild hatches. We get them in the trap. We trap them in there with the food is what brings them in, and then we close the gate. It's kind of the reverse of a release. And from there, we're able to safely handle those birds and give them the appropriate tags and transmitters, and also the appropriate vaccinations. So we have the potential now to vaccinate for West Nile virus, as well as we have the potential to vaccinate for HPAI, which is a relatively recent development. So we haven't been doing that for very long, but at least we now have the tools to provide some more protection should we see avian flu come back in the population again. But fortunately, fingers crossed, we haven't seen that happen, and we haven't had a case since April of 2023. Yeah, can the public attend future releases? It is highly encouraged. I hope that you all come to one of these future releases. They are open to the public. They're here in northern Arizona at the Vermilion Cliffs, and they are annual. So we expect that there will be an invitation next year to the 29th annual public Condor release, and you can show up. It's a bit remote. I'm not going to lie, we don't have cell service here. We're using Starlink today to bring this to you, which is a first. It's kind of cool, but expect that there's not a lot of services. We've got some bathrooms provided by BLM and some water jugs, and we just have a whole bunch of enthusiastic people out here watching condors. That's what it's kind of all about. We have art auctions and tag raffles and t-shirts and anything you think of that's condor related, it's here because these people really care about condors. So please come and join us for one of these. If it's not this year, maybe the following year. What are the stresses that condors are facing in the wild? Thank you for that question. I think that if I had to answer that accurately, I would say the large is lead poisoning. So that's one of our main focuses. Lead is, as I said previously, it's the leading cause of death for condors, and it's something that we monitor very closely. So those blood lead levels of condors tend to spike in the fall and winter during and after hunting seasons. And so it's not that that's the only source of lead on the landscape, but it is certainly one that we can focus on because there's an increase of lead on the landscape during that time. So one of the things that we're doing with our partners that Game and Fish is doing with Arizona Game and Fish and Utah DNR is they're running these programs that are voluntary incentive-based programs to bring the hunting public into this non-lead world. So there's an alternative to lead bullets, and they're copper bullets. They're solid monolithic copper bullets, and they fragment significantly less than lead, say about 99.9% intact after being fired and killing an animal or shooting an animal. Lead bullets, on the other hand, are very soft, and they tend to fragment as they penetrate an animal. And those small fragments can be left behind for scavengers to pick up and potentially poison animals like condors or eagles or anything else that scavenges on the landscape. And so what Arizona Game and Fish and Utah DNR have done is they've provided free ammunition, a coupon for a free box of copper ammunition to every hunter that draws a tag in the region of the California condor here in the Southwest. And it's been very successful. On average, Arizona sees more than 85% participation of either using non-lead ammunition or removing the remains of the animal from the field altogether. And Utah is right on par with that too, with over 80% participation over the last decade. So this is really a way that we can bring the hunting community in and help. They can help solve a problem and do it for the conservation of the species of the condor. And so the response that we've gotten from the hunting community is generally overwhelmingly positive. A lot of folks don't know about the issue of lead poisoning in wildlife, and this is our opportunity to bring the folks that can solve the problem into the equation, and they step up. And that's what we've seen from the hunters in northern Arizona and southern Utah, is that they're willing to try different ammunition, which is actually quite good, and take steps to limit the amount of lead on the landscape. And ultimately, we're hoping to see less exposure in condors because of those efforts. And so it's going to take a little bit of time, and we've been working at it for a while, but it's a long game for sure, but we're making progress every single day. Do we release other birds from the Vermilion Cliffs? Nope, just California condors. How can we individually and collectively impact or promote non-lead? What can we do? I love that question because everybody can play a part. The hunter or the shooter on the landscape can make a direct impact by not leaving lead on the landscape. But oftentimes we ask, like, what can we do? What can I do if I'm not a hunter? And, you know, I think the best thing that you can do is help educate people. But what we want to do is we want to educate people and spread this message in a way that's positive. So often we encounter these aggressive interactions where we're like, we see people say, well, I think hunting should be banned and I don't like hunting. Well, I'm a hunter myself and I've switched to non-lead ammunition. I wouldn't eat anything that is shot with a lead-based bullet at this point, given what I know. But that doesn't mean that everybody knows about that. And then we can share that information in a way that brings us up together and is not aggressive. So it's more of like a, hey, have you heard about the lead issue in wildlife? Not, you shouldn't hunt. That's not a great way to approach it from my perspective. So if we can talk to people and make relationships and build relationships and use those relationships to help spread information, I think that's going to be the most effective way to solve problems. So let's work with our fellow humans and be compassionate and be caring and be understanding about different people's situations and where they're at and help bring each other up together so that we can solve problems. Because this doesn't happen on an individual scale. So if you haven't yet been to our Custom Ink fundraiser page, this is a great way to help support our field program. in years past, we've raised as much as $30,000 for condor recovery just through this custom ink campaign. And so not only can you make a contribution to our program directly, but you also can take home a cool shirt. I think they even have hoodies up there. The design this year I really like. I think that it really illustrates the personality and the character of 1221, who I will say she's a bit of a spitfire. I've handled her a couple times in the last couple weeks as we put her tags on, and she is certainly feisty. And I think that you should go to the custom ink site and order one of our shirts so you can take it home and wear Malagra around and help promote condor recovery. Yeah, look at that shirt. It's really cool against the sandstone red rock backdrop. So welcome home, Malagra. Almost. She's not out yet. So what is the range of the California condor? There's another great question that is ever changing. So condors can range pretty far. Like I said, we've seen birds fly at least a couple hundred miles in a day. We've even had birds go as far north as Wyoming. We had some birds in southern Wyoming not too long ago, at least one bird. Their eastern portion of the range, we see birds go as far east as about Moab. Sometimes we've had birds in Southwest Colorado or the Santa Fe, New Mexico area. Well, that's kind of out of the normal range. So the eastern edge is a bit more restrictive. They don't tend to travel east. You've got Lake Powell here and a whole vast. So they tend to go north and south down the Kaibab Plateau to Grand Canyon and north up into Utah. So that's the majority of the range expansion seems to be mapping north into Utah and even potentially into Southwest Colorado. I see this question about the last two. If they don't fly today, will we post updates? Yeah, you can go to our social media pages if you want to see updates. I promise you that we will update you on our social media pages, which are Condor Cliffs and the Peregrine Fund. So Condor Cliffs is specific to this program, and the Peregrine Fund is our organization as a whole. So I promise we'll update you and we'll keep you going. Do we have to worry about imprinting during the pre-release process? We take a lot of steps to make sure that that doesn't happen. We certainly don't hang out with the birds pre-release. We keep them isolated in those pens, and we keep human interaction to an absolute minimum. Any interaction that we do have with condors is usually a negative one. So if we're putting on transmitters and we're drawing blood, that's a negative interaction, and it does not do anything with imprinting on humans. In fact, hopefully the opposite. It makes them realize that us humans are not all that good for them. So we try to keep our interactions at an absolute minimum. This thing is like I saw the one. Yeah, we have this little yeah, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. I think those are our primary platforms. Well, it's not looking good for our live feeds, and my apologies for cutting out your view of the release pens. I think our goal as we go forward to next year is to find a system that provides us a little bit more stability in the cameras that we use. And so with this new pen just being built, we didn't really have a chance because we had to move birds into it to set it up in the tech sense. So that's one of our goals as we go through the next year and prepare for next year's release is we're going to get some permanent cameras in there, not just for you all, but so that we as biologists can watch remotely. Technology's come so far, and it's really improved our ability to monitor. So if we can get cameras in there and test their stability and make sure that the functionality is excellent, I promise you that we will deliver that to you next year. Where can you get the shirt that I'm wearing right now? That is an interesting question, because I can't get you one of these shirts unless you come to work for the California Condor field crew. So this is a field crew specific shirt, and we're happy to give these to all of the folks that come and work with us over the years. We've got a crew of 7 to 8 biologists at any given time that are working with this species on the day-to-day. So it's something that that we really need to keep going. You know, these individuals are monitoring the birds and they're making the difference. So each one of these people that are out there tracking condors has the ability and the potential to save a bird's life. And it happens every year. Every year we have somebody who tracks a bird to a location and realizes, due to its location and the signal on its transmitter, that it's potentially sick or injured. And we inevitably are able to go out there and capture those birds and bring them in and help those birds get back to recovery and eventually release them back to the wild. Yeah, any tips for somebody trying to get into birds of prey conservation and management? I would love to see more people getting into conservation. We certainly need all the help we can get, because as our world is constantly changing, we see more species at risk and imperiled. And the Peregrine Fund is one of those organizations that is working tirelessly to address the threats and declines of raptors in particular. So anywhere there's a raptor in trouble, the Peregrine Fund is usually there working to help recover that species. If you want to get into condor, not condor specific recovery, but if you want to get into conservation recovery, you're going to have to probably go get a degree in some sort of biological sciences. And from there, you can get into field work. So that's how I started. I started working with birds in the field, and that led me into some more endangered species work and eventually into work with the California Condor. So I consider myself very lucky to be involved in a program like this, one that is both successful, but still ongoing and still has a lot of work to do. But if you ever want to find out more about how we offer positions, you can always find us on our social media pages and send us a message. We'll be happy to answer you there. More questions? I should have worn my Malagra shirts. You guys could all see action. I had to wear my new field shirt. Is there a difference between a one-time donation? That's another good question. I'm not a specialist. Eddie is actually here at a booth over here signing people up to be members. But I do encourage you all, you can do either. You can donate as a one-time individual, or you can become a member, and there's different membership levels that have been set that have different benefits. But generally, a membership is going to get you into the Peregrine Fund as we send out a calendar every year that is a birds of prey calendar that is absolutely gorgeous, and you'll get that. You'll get notifications about special events like this. I promise you, we won't spam you. You'll get tons of emails. You will have discounts in our gift shop or our bookstores up in Boise, Idaho, or discounts to raptor shows. So there's all sorts of different benefits. Go to peregrinefund.org if you want to look at what those benefits are. It's probably a much better explanation there than I can give you here, but you can become a member, and we encourage you to become a member because it's a way to support conservation. And so you can also choose the program you want to donate to if you're doing a one-time donation, and you're welcome to choose California Condor if you want the funds to go directly to our program. All right, let's see. How many people were here at the base? You know, I think I'm gonna guess about 500 or 600 people showed up today. Which, if you know where we're at, you know it's pretty remote. It's a big effort to get out here. So we're really grateful for all those people that made it. And I know that we're gonna see some of you guys here in the next couple of years. When will we close the gate? You know, I think we're probably going to give it a couple more hours, and we're probably not going to keep this live stream going during that time. We're going to probably say goodbye here shortly and shut things down and get to work because we got a lot of work to do tonight. Making sure that these birds, at least the two that came out already, are getting acclimated and finding good places to roost and making good choices. So we'll probably leave the gates open till about 3 or 4 o'clock is my guess, and then we'll call it and start again tomorrow. Malagra is still in there, as is 1209. So hopefully they will get out of here shortly, and we can get to work watching all of them. So we have 8 biologists that are all watching these 2 birds right now. So there's plenty of eyes on these 2. All right. Does anybody in this studio side of things know how many t-shirts we've sold so far? I'd love to be able to shout that out and plug it. I'm hoping if we can get it. All right, we're at 250. Yeah, our goal is 350. So if we can get 100 more shirts sold, we will reach our donation goal. So that's where we're looking to get to. So go to Custom Ink, follow the link that's in this chat, probably in the description too, and get yourself a 2024 release shirt. What will the next 24 to 48 hours look like for these 2? You know, we don't know. We're gonna wait and see. If I had to guess based on my experience, I would say that they're gonna be taking some short flights and they're gonna be getting their wings under them. So they haven't taken any of these big 100-mile flights yet. All right, we've got birds. Some of those 2 are still flying, but they're gonna take more and more flights and shorter flights to longer flights to bigger flights, and they're gonna get those muscles in their wings acclimated to flying dozens of miles in a day, you know, going out there and finding food on their own. The next couple of days, we're going to see a lot of those short flights. We may have to do a little bit of hazing, so we may have to do a little bit of conditioning to teach them what a ground predator is. And we say this every year, but I know people want to see me dress up as a coyote and climb up the cliffs and scare condors. We don't have any video of that yet, but we're working on it. It's going to happen someday. I'm being a little bit facetious, but we do go up there and we pretend to be coyotes. We don't wear suits because we would probably die because it's about 90 degrees today. A little warm, but all right. Well, we have a lot of partners that I'd like to thank because they've made my job a whole heck of a lot easier, and they contribute to this effort every single year and every single day of the year. So these are long-term partners, and it starts with the BLM because this is their day, National Public Lands Day. So huge thanks to the BLM and for what they do. We're working on BLM land here. This is Vermilion Cliffs National Monument. The fact that we can work out of a national monument and recover condors here is something quite special, and it's the perfect habitat for these birds. And we thank the BLM for their cooperation, partnership, and efforts for condor recovery. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, they're the governing body for all of condor recovery. So we actually work under U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in endangered species recovery. They manage endangered species. Without them, we wouldn't be here either. Our other federal partners in the Forest Service, who manage the land up on the Kaibab Plateau and land in southern Utah. Condors frequent that region quite often. The national parks are a huge help for us because we have condors in 2 national parks, Grand Canyon National Park and Zion National Park. They have staff that work for the parks for both Grand Canyon and Zion that are working in those parks respectively to track condors, and we communicate with them regularly about the activities of those birds. So without that communication, again, in that partnership, we don't know a whole lot about what's going on in the park. So thank you, Grand Canyon, and thank you, Zion, for all the work that you do in your national parks. The state agencies are incredibly helpful because they're the ones that are really on the ground tackling the lead issue. They're working to get non-lead ammunition as hunters in Arizona and Utah. So huge thanks to those guys. And then our other partners, like the tribal partners, the Navajo Nation, the Kaibab Paiute, all of these folks are a part of the Condor recovery. And I would be remiss if I left out Liberty Wildlife, has been there for us through thick and thin. They work out of Phoenix, Arizona. Liberty Wildlife, they're a nonprofit as well. So please go check out Liberty Wildlife and become a member there too, because they're saving raptors of all different types and other birds and other animals. They've got a whole slew of birds that they're recovering there, and they've got education birds, and their goal is to not only rehabilitate birds, but educate the public on the threats that species pose. So Liberty Wildlife is here. They're behind me. I'm going to go hang out with them and see what they're up to soon. Yeah, support Condor recovery. There's Fish and Wildlife Service web pages. You can go to peregrinefund.org. We've got a page specific to condors there, and of course our social media pages on Condor Cliffs. I think, right.
Very excited. Angela and Emma,
1221 has just left the release pen. So this is the moment we were all waiting for. It happened, and we didn't leave you yet. So that's huge. 1221 is out and flying. It is the third bird out of the 4 that have left. So I'm glad we got to experience 1221, and you might be able to hear a little bit of the excitement behind. Everybody's going nuts because this bird has just taken its first flight. How cool. Yeah, I know. I wish that you all could have seen that, and I didn't get to see it either. I'm gonna have to ask the field crew what that looked like. But if you don't know the story of Malagra and you haven't heard the story of Malagra, go do a Google search for Audubon Malagra, and it will come up. There was a great story published in Audubon in their quarterly and online, and it details the whole story of her life from an egg in the Vermilion Cliffs to hatching at Liberty Wildlife, being flown up to our propagation facility in Boise, all the way from her journey to the Vermilion Cliffs, and now her flight into the wild. So it's complete. I like to say it's complete because she took her first flight, but really it's only the beginning for her. This is the first day of hopefully many days in the wild of her exploring the wilds of Arizona and Utah and coming home. We lost her mom to HPAI, but her dad is still out there. Condor 680 is her dad, and he's doing great, and he's paired up again as well. Hoping that he's be able to produce more offspring as we move forward, but hopefully someday we'll see Malagra producing. So with that, with 3 out of 4 birds having left the release pen, including Malagra, I think it's time to say goodbye for the day, and we'll update you on our social media pages tomorrow as we get more information, as we go through this process of roost tonight, and make sure we put the birds to bed in safe places. So I want to thank you all for tuning in and for checking it out and bearing with us through thick and thin, and that's kind of what recovery is, and that's what endangered species recovery certainly is. It's taking the highs and the lows and riding the wave of good, and today is the day to celebrate. So we have 3 more birds in the wild, hopefully a 4th by the time we close curtains tonight. Yeah, have a great evening. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Happy National Public Lands Day, and go Condors. We'll keep the fire burning here for you, and we'll see you next year. Have a good day.